And away we go. It is the Aftermath, the post-game show right here on BearcatJournal.com. We are live from the Cincy Light Studios, brought to you, as always, by our good friends at Mio's Pizza. If you're in and around the Clifton area, make sure you stop by, see our good friends at Mio's on Short Vine. They will get you taken care of. Great pizza, great hoagies. Love the wedge fries, awesome appetizers, and, of course, all the drinks you could ever imagine, including ice cold Cincy Light. So get out to Mio's and congratulations to Quinn and his Anderson teammates as they finish second in the state. Pretty cool for a sophomore to start at center, help lead the team to a state championship game. So congrats to Quinn and all the folks at Mio's on a great run for Anderson. All right, Aaron, let's get this show on the road. Bearcats 84-67. First half wasn't pretty. Second half, a lot more tolerable, but they did what they had to do. I just, I'll let you go first. Give me your thoughts on the UC Howard game today.
Well, if you want to start in the first half, we know that Dan is easing back into his play, but when your rotation includes, and part of this, I guess, was Dylan Mitchell having 2 fouls potentially, but when your rotation includes Josh Reed with 8 minutes, Tyler Betsy with 6 minutes, the Betsy minutes don't bother me so much. But I guess with the score being what it was, I don't know that I love that many minutes for those guys. Sometimes the rotations were puzzling. But
well, I can tell you why Josh was in there. They were dreadful defensively, and he's one of your better defenders. I think it's a message of, if you guys aren't going to get after it on defense, then we'll play somebody that will.
There were points at time tonight where I didn't think he played great defense, particularly in the second half. But I digress. I don't know. I think that I have a theory, and you're probably going to light me up for this, and that's about what I expect anyway. But I think Coach is coming from UNCG. He had talent that was not as where the talent is here at Cincinnati. And I think when you're playing with lesser talent, you have to play guys more minutes to try and wear out the other team. And I feel like he's still in that mentality. And I think that there's a larger drop-off when you bring in some of the second-tier guys on this team. And I wonder if he's still in that mindset that he has to wear down the other team, as opposed to getting guys 32, 33 minutes, 35 minutes that you can on this team, because I think there's guys that you can play that many minutes on this team. He just chooses not to.
I don't really think there's anything to that. I think he is of the belief that as you go throughout a season, you are going to need these guys. And the only way you get them ready to play is to play them against Howard and the likes. And if you're not going to play them against Howard and you have an injury that forces something to happen and you have to go to your bench, you are never going to be able to get a guy up to speed by throwing him out there against Baylor, Arizona, and Kansas. You know what I mean? Like, you have got to find some comfort level with these guys on the bench. Now, we saw it a little bit in Villanova. I'm sure you'll see it with Xavier. I'm sure you'll see it with Dayton, and then into the Big 12. The bench is going to shorten. I mean, that's just natural. But I think Wes is also a guy that has been around and been through it long enough that he knows, like, at some point in time, we're going to need some of these guys. And I would much rather have them take some lumps or go through a rough patch in this stretch than to have them do it, just here you go. I know you played a total of 42 minutes in the non-conference. but somebody sprained an ankle and is out for a week, and now you're going to have to play 18 minutes against one of the best teams in the country. So I think that's some of it. I also think their intensity just was not good in the first half. Like, they were not locked in, especially defensively. I think from what I've seen in a couple of the most recent games, they feel like they can just turn it on and off. Like, and he talked about this a little in the post game. They feel like we're a good defensive team. It's there when we need it. But what they have learned, hopefully, over these past couple games is that when you do that, you allow the other team to find rhythm. It doesn't matter how good or bad that team is. They still have Division I scholarship basketball players. You saw it against NKU in the first half. You saw it at Villanova. You saw it again tonight, where you let guys kind of find their flow, and then they're playing well. And you can't come out of the gate and just, we'll turn it on when we need it. Because like we saw against Villanova, that doesn't work against good teams.
Well, one of the things that Terry said on the broadcast was that he saw them playing free ball most of the first half, as opposed to running any type of like offensive sets. And they didn't seem to start finding shots for guys. I remember one specifically for CMOS that they found towards the end of the first half. And you kind of talked about that in the post game, where that last 5 minutes, they started to turn it on. Odd timing, considering that's kind of what we're talking about here. So I wonder if they kind of got into some of those sets, maybe just a little late in the game, as opposed to kind of just running that free flow offense, which I don't know that there's anything that you can really describe that outside of kind of playing street ball.
They don't run as much flow as people think they do, and it's nothing like street ball.
Okay.
Street ball doesn't involve picks and screens and cuts, and street ball is just me on you. Like, that's what I think about when
I would have liked a little bit more explanation from Terry. If you're going to just throw that out there, that's what you make it sound like. But in any case, that was just a little concerning for me. And like I said, they started to find shots for guys, kind of setting screens to get CMOS open, get him going. I don't know. It was just, it looked sloppy both ways, to your point, as opposed to as when we're talking about them turning it off and turning it on again. And Dylan said the same thing in his post game, both on camera, right after the broadcast, and then again at the podium. That's a weird thing for this team who's coming off a loss to still just be like, I guess we're
the problem with bye games, though. It's the problem with bye games. You just think like we're better than this team. It's there if we need it, and that's a dangerous thing. Hunter, all the way from Iraq. Love you, man. Only problem so far is it takes West getting on their ass to wake them up. Need players to come out with an intensity in the shootout. Still hopeful. Appreciate all you guys do. Appreciate you, Hunter, and all you do as well. Yeah, I think there's something to that. Like, it's again, I hate these Sunday mid-afternoon, like sleepy,
Well, you could see on the broadcast that the lower bowl looked roughly 2/3 full.
Yeah, a lot of that is people just hanging out up in the club, like in the club, in the getting some food and having some drinks and chatting with people. Like, those people are there. They're just
because it's a mid-Sunday game.
Yeah. Like, that's what you think about in that, you're not really in full-on hardcore like game mode, if you will. So yeah, I think there's something to that. But you have to, the way they came out against Georgia Tech. Like, they came out, they defended well, they ran their offense, they got some turnovers, they got some easy points, they got some points manufactured through their offense. And next thing you know, it's 19-9, like early in the game, and you're in control. And they have to carry that over, because I think you do get into that mode of like, it's there. Like, okay, like we got a lot of talent. We'll just crank it up when we need to crank it up. And that would be the one thing like,
That's,
people
that's
always
what backfired. That's what backfired on them against Villanova.
Yeah. I said that. Yeah. But like you came out and thought, oh, well, we're better than these guys.
Mhm.
And then guess what? Dixon got in a rhythm, and they had a couple other guys that got in a rhythm. And next thing you know, you're in trouble and you're down 10, 11 in the first half going, oh, shit. And then you do turn it on, but you can't get over the hump because
Too little,
you
too
dug
late.
too big a hole. Yeah. I didn't see in that first 15 minutes, I just did not see a lot of defensive intensity. And then the reason I asked that from Wes is they had a possession. So I looked at the clock. It was right about with 5 minutes left in the first half. Where I don't know if they got a shot clock violation. I don't remember exactly how it ended. But you could see they like sat down and really got after it in that possession defensively. And it seemed to kind of wake everybody up. It seemed to kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, that's right. We're really good and we need to act like it.
It's just frustrating when you know that this team's capable of that and you don't see it. And like I said, coming after a loss, you want to see this team kind of coming out with their hair on fire. And I did not feel that the first half at all.
No. Now, start of the second half, hair was sufficiently on fire. It was like 32 to 14 or something right out of the gate.
Dunking everything.
Yeah. And 10 dunks, 10 dunks on the game. I worry about it. Like, I know they're 9 of 10 on dunks. I worry, like, it's one of those things that in the big games, it's not repeatable. You're not going to get 8, 9, 10 dunks a game in the Big 12.
You wouldn't think so, no.
No, I mean, teams are they're longer, they're more athletic, like the scouting reports are better. Like it's just not one of those things that is repeatable. So I worry loading up on that and that becoming like 20, well, it was like 25% of their offense today, roughly.
18 points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
20% of their offense, whatever. Somewhere between 20 and 25, whatever the math is. But you get my point. Like it's like worrying, like it's like being a team that relies heavily on getting to the free throw line, and then you play a team that doesn't foul, and instead of shooting 26 free throws, you shoot 14, and now you've lost a significant portion of your typical scoring output that you have to generate in other ways. All dunks and no threes makes Aaron a very happy boy. Thanks again, Hunter. You're right. But the threes thing, like it can be some of that too, because you load up on threes early in the season. All of a sudden, you start playing these teams that are longer, more athletic. They're able to run you off the 3-point line. They scout you a little bit better. They're able to take away maybe your 1 or 2 like big 3-point shooters, and now you're relying on a portion of your offense like it's not there. So, yeah, that's I just have a little bit of concern on that, and I think we saw it in the Villanova game, Aaron. Like would they have one? Did they have a dunk? If they had a dunk, they had maybe one in the Villanova game. So, and you lost by 6. So if you're used to 12, 14 points off of those lob plays, and then the lob plays aren't there because of the way the defense is defending you, and now a significant chunk of your offensive production is not available. So that's just a personal like observation. I don't think it's like a major deal, but I do think it's something to at least keep an eye on. That's all. What else you got?
I am looking that up. I'm looking that up for you. The 2 of 3 on dunks against Villanova. 2 of 3.
Yeah. So 6, that's 12 points. 12 points from this, like 12 points that you have in this game that you didn't get in the Villanova game because you're just not gonna generate offense in the half lobs.
They only hit 2 of 3, so 4 points.
Yeah, 4 points here.
We had 18 and 18 in this
18,
one.
So yeah,
14.
So 14, whatever. But yeah, that's just something that it sticks in my brain a little bit when you get really dependent on that and you feast on that. against the bad teams, and then you're looking for those points against the good teams, and they're not there to be had.
Turnovers 13 today. That's not a great number. I know you want to keep that number at 10 or lower. It's not a terrible number, don't get me wrong, but it's not a great number, especially against Howard. I was a little disappointed in the broadcast. We didn't get a cameo from a mouse in the house, or even a throwback where Terry could have slipped it in. Would have been funny.
I should have mentioned that pregame when we were all having our pregame meal. I should have told him to sneak in a mouse in the house. That's on me.
Yep,
that's my bad.
Yep. Hand up.
Well, they wouldn't have got. They were there. Like they're not gonna know the fun of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would have been a joke explained, but anybody watching the broadcast would have gotten it. I know it was probably I probably exhaled louder than most, but seeing Arlington Page leave the game with what looked like a shoulder injury, the way he landed on that shoulder going down after a loose ball was a little concerning. But him coming back into the game, you certainly felt better about that. I think that would have been a gigantic loss going into this next stretch before you start to get into conference play. Had he missed any time, certainly against Xavier, that's not where you want to be. But that was a huge sigh of relief from me. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, 19 assists today that's pretty good.
It's better. Better.
34 on your 34 shots. I thought the return of Dan was obviously a good thing to see. However, Dan looked a little rusty, especially right out the gate. He comes out and gets an offensive foul. Only 9 minutes logged. I think he's probably chomping at the bit to get more minutes, as we all are. But
sure,
it's going to take some time to knock off some rust as this was his second game of the season.
Yeah.
So you're not only knocking off the off-season rust, but you're also knocking off I was injured and had a minor surgery.
And missed a month.
Yeah.
Right around a month. So, yeah, he didn't look like there were any ill effects, though. He was still the Tasmanian devil. That's my new, I went with Gumby for a long time. To me, he's more he just swirls in like the play where he, they had the little tussle at the top of the key and Howard breaks away with it. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, here comes Dan, swats it away. Like,
just took the ball. He didn't even swat it away. He just that's mine. The refs were certainly. I feel like I don't want to say swallowed their whistle, but they didn't blow the whistle on a ton of stuff. I thought that was nice to see today, and certainly helps out guys like a Dan Skillings. Just some of the stuff that they were doing through the lane. They were able.
Luckily it wasn't a high major game because you had two of the notorious. I hate seeing these guys officials and John Gaffney and Doug Sermons. Fortunately, we didn't give them a reason to matter today.
Outside of that, though, I think that covers all of my overview thoughts on the game. I don't know if I'm missing anything.
No, I think it comes down to they have to come out with championship level intensity right from the start. This is the one thing, as I was going to say earlier, this is the one thing that I think hurts not to have one of those preseason MTE tournaments.
MTEs,
because it gives you a shot in November to go play a couple games in a couple days against, quality teams on a neutral court. Like you learn these lessons. You don't get a chance to be complacent in those situations.
Teams that are also trying to figure things out at the same time. So not you're not getting a UConn at their best. You're getting them as they're still also working out the kinks. You're not getting an Arizona, UCLA at their best. Everyone's still trying to work their way through their stuff, and you get the opportunity to do that same thing against high level as opposed to
NKU. it's kind of a repeat of last year where they blew through everything. They get to that Georgia Tech game. Okay, and Georgia Tech lost to North Carolina by 3 last night. Like, Georgia Tech's not a bad team. Not a great team, but they're not a bad team. And then you handle Georgia Tech easily, the same as you did last year. Did it a little different, but you handle Georgia Tech easily, and all of a sudden you start thinking, that's pretty easy. We're pretty good. No, that's not how this works at this level anymore, because the talent is consolidated, and if you come out and you're not taking care of business right away, you start out flat. And once you start out flat, the other team gets confidence, and then they start hanging around. That's the last thing you want to do with an inferior team, is just kind of let them hang around all the way through the first half and feel like, okay, we're like, also, those guys took UC to overtime last year. Like, they weren't scared of UC. They probably should have beaten UC a year ago.
That Howard Arena was a party the whole time. Just a party. So I don't know. It's a decent little program they have over there at Howard, but 27.5 was a number I was not touching today.
No. And the funny part is, and if they would have kept their foot on the gas in the second half, they had a chance to get there fairly easy.
They were up 26, and that number dropped to 16.
And that's, again, take your foot off the gas, just kind of, okay, we'll coast home. Remember, that's what I talked about. I loved at the beginning of the season is they weren't doing that. When they got up 26, the next thing you know, it was 36.
Now, one of the things that Dylan Mitchell said after the game, he seemed to, I don't know if that was just regurgitating what coaches have been saying in the locker room or what have you, but he said that they are in control. They are the ones that have lost for themselves. They're the ones that have won for themselves. That said, you have a chance to go out and prove that against Xavier, because if you are not the team that you say you are, and that you win or lose based on yourselves, show us against Xavier. This is a rivalry game. Doesn't get any bigger than that. So
right. Hopefully we don't hear anything from Wes along the lines of it's just another game.
I don't want to hear that from anybody this week.
The camera work last year was hilarious. It was. Sup, Harrow. How you doing? Hunter, the shootout can be an AP breakout game. I don't need a breakout game. I just need AP to play well. Just do DYJ. Do your job.
You don't do enough.
To me, UC must beat X and UD to convince me. Okay. We've all got our own standards. Look, they lost the Nova game. So if you go, let's say you beat one of the two and you go one of three in your 3 non-conference games, you're going to have to be really good in the Big 12. You're going to have to get some top of the food chain scalps in order to make your resume look good. You can go out and if you win these 2 games, you don't have a lot of wiggle room going into the Big 12, but at least you got a little bit of wiggle room going into the Big 12 at that stage. So yeah, it's very much a game that they need to win for sure. Ron, we know. I was there.
Let's start.
UD smoked UC last season. I was sitting on the floor watching it firsthand, Ron. Well, I had the way that they had us sat, Aaron, I had a really loud UD student 1 foot from my ear that did not shut up the entire night. I am well aware of how that game went. I almost just went to my car and went home at one point.
With your souvenir RC Cola cup.
No, you didn't get a cup. You just get a warm RC Cola that had been put in the fridge like 6 minutes ago.
I don't know what's worse, RC Cola or Faygo.
Faygo's much better than RC Cola. And that's not saying much. Faygo stinks too. I
All right,
can Bearcat 101. I can focus on whatever I want. We don't play. Like, so if I want to talk about Dayton, we can talk about Dayton a little bit. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. But, you know, me talking about Dayton doesn't have any impact on the Xavier game. I promise you. I always laugh at that. But one game at a time. Like, I know why the coaches say that. We don't. You know what's funny, Aaron?
What's funny?
Did you see the time slot for Ohio State, Indiana?
No.
It's the exact same time as the UC Dayton game. Like Keegan, when he saw it, I swear he looked like somebody ran over his dog and then stopped the car and then backed over it the other way. He was so upset. Like, because the biggest problem for him is the Wi-Fi and the internet, like just the cell service in that place is terrible. So
shocker.
He's probably not even going to get to watch it on his phone.
That's because it's hard to get through all the asbestos and lead paint in that place.
Right. Notre Dame, Indiana. I'm sorry, my bad. No, Harrow, the Notre Dame, Indiana game is Friday night, and then all the other games are on, the other 3 games are on Saturday. So, yeah, Friday night, Notre Dame, Indiana at 8 o'clock, and I think UC Dayton tips off at 8:30. Poor Keegan. I think he was wanting me to, like, give him the night off. No. I'm rooting for Notre Dame too, and I don't do that very often, but I like a lot of those guys up there. I like Marcus a lot. I like Denbrock a lot. I like Mickens a lot. Chad Bowden, whatever. Yeah. Get on to the players. Let's do that.
Let's. I guess we will start with Thimas. 18 points. Yeah. I had no idea. Watching the game, I had no idea he was the team leader in points until I pulled up the stats after the game. So congrats on a quiet team leading 18 points, 7 to 10 from the field, getting back to his shooting ways, 3 of 6 from 3, 1 for 2 from the line, had 2 rebounds, 4 assists. He did lead the team in turnovers, though, with 3. And in turn, he also led the team in steals with 3. In his 29 minutes.
Those 2 threes at the end of the first half were massive. Like, just because you, like, if he doesn't hit those 2 shots, you go into halftime either tied or down 1 or 2 or up 1 or 2, and it's like, are you, like, really? And he hits those 2. He gives you a 4-point lead, gives you some momentum, especially hitting one at the buzzer going into halftime. And then we saw what they did in the second half.
I just don't know why it took so long to scheme him open, like to start to find him shots. I feel like you have to do that.
I need to go back over the tape. I think they were switching a lot of those screens that normally get him open, where they get a guy in trail position, and then they'll run him off another screen just to make sure that guy is. And when you're handing those off, he doesn't get a chance to kind of run free on those curls as much as he normally did. I'd have to go back and watch, but it felt like, especially early, they were kind of handing some of that stuff off to where he didn't get like a lot of those free release looks coming off of a back screen or a down screen.
Aziz with 17 points, 8 of 10 from the floor, 1 of 3 from the stripe, 4 offensive, 2 defensive, giving him 6 rebounds today, 2 assists, 2 turnovers. But 17 points for Aziz, that's a big game for the big fella.
It is. That's what happens when all of a sudden the lobs are open and he can catch them and finish. And he actually had a couple non-lob finishes today that people have been clamoring for. He had one where he pump faked up and the 2 defenders went flying past him. He was able to lay it in. That is his highest point total as Bearcat. I'm not going to look, too entirely much into it, but it was good to see after, he had a tough one against Nova.
My favorite play today from Aziz was actually he had gotten switched where he was on a shorter guy and he manned up on him and actually knocked the ball loose, hustled down, dove for the loose ball. It unfortunately went out of bounds, but we got to see a little bit of Aziz kind of doing the wingspan defensive check down, and I thought it was fun for Aziz to do a little bit more than just hang out under the rim and play some defense. Kind of getting dirty as like grimy as a Bearcat should.
But no, it was one of the better games that he's had in his time here as Bearcat, for sure.
No blocks, a little surprising there, but the other guy who's playing run and gun with him, Dylan Mitchell, 14 points, 5 of 6 from the field. Hits another 3, 1 for 2 behind the arc today. Hits 3 free throws, more than doubling his total on the entire season as far as made free throws goes. 3 of 4 from the stripe. 2 defensive rebounds for him today. A little low there. 3 assists, 2 fouls, as we mentioned, both in the first half. 1 turnover, 1 steal.
Solid outing.
Peaks and valleys a little bit.
Yeah.
He talked in the postgame about how you asked him about getting the lid off the rim. He said he got the lid off his brain. He said it was all just mind games because he makes his free throws in practice. But just happy to see him getting that 6% up today with his 3 made free throws. He can do it. And a third straight game now with a 3-pointer for the big fella. And he was dunking everything. The one he had where he caught it with his left hand, one-handed, and then finished with 2 was probably the most impressive today. But he dunked everything.
No. The most impressive was the one that he didn't dunk on the out of bounds baseline lob where he tried to Superman
Vince Carter
from the free throw line. I told Keegan if he dunked that, I was closing my laptop, gathering my things, getting my daughter, and leaving for the day because I had seen enough. I didn't need to see any more. That was the last thing I wanted to see because that would have been ridiculous.
That would have been iconic, and it would have been in every Bearcats highlight video for the rest of time.
Ever. Right. Yeah. I mean, just
right there,
caught it back here and just tried to
would have been right there with the Mel Levitt. I still think that he's got it in him at some point this season where we might actually see an iconic dunk from him. That's definitely on my bingo board. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Worth mentioning, another starter, Connor Hickman, only 2 points, 1 of 4 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3. His one look was so good. I thought it was going to go in, but unfortunately it wasn't the case. 7 rebounds though for the little guy, 1 assist, 1 turnover, 2 steals. At some point, it's got to start falling. But those 2 points were enough to give him 1,000 points as a collegiate athlete.
Yeah, it's close. I mean, I'm not overly concerned about it. I did like that you saw him help in other ways today. You saw him start to hit the glass, and I thought he defended pretty well. It was a much better overall performance, much more of a complete performance from him that we have not seen yet. So it's trending in the right direction. I honestly think he's going to have one of these games where he hits like 3 of 4, and the lid's going to come off this thing, and it's going to start looking a lot better for him. I don't think he's far off.
Well, we all certainly hope that's the case because as Dan kind of gets back into that role where he's been slotting in, I think that'll take some pressure off of Connor to be a guy
I do too.
just has kind of been asked to do quite a bit more than maybe he anticipated. So we'll see how that goes. And then Jizzle James, the last starter, 7 points, 3 of 6 from the field, 1 for 3 from the arc, 1 rebound, 2 assists, 4 fouls. A lot of fouls for him today. 1 turnover, 1 steal. Weird day for Jizzle. I never felt like he was in a groove.
No, and well, I did actually. He
The
had
first shot of the game
right away. He had 5 right away, and then that was kind of it.
The 3 he got where he took the kick over from Skillings was nice, and that was I don't even remember how he scored his last 2. If I'm being honest.
I think it was a layup at the rim.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had the first bucket of the game, and he hit the first 3 of the game, and then he scored 2 points the rest of the way, and it was like. But he battled a little bit of foul trouble in the second half, and I think Day got a little bit more comfortable than he did.
Yeah, between the two of them, Day and Jizzle both had 21 minutes today, so I don't know that we'll see that all too often, but here we are. Yeah. Moving down, Day 3 of 10 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3. Hit his only free throw today. 1 offensive rebound was his only rebound of the day. 3 assists. So the 2 point guards total for 5 assists there. 1 foul, 1 turnover, 1 steal. I thought Day was good. His shot selection probably could have been pickier.
He's got he is improving as a 3-point shooter.
Yes.
I do not want him taking 26-footers.
I agree. That's Jizzle's shot, not Day shot.
That's Seamoss's shot. Nobody else is allowed to shoot from 26 feet but Seamoss. He's the only one I'm confident that's going to go in.
Yeah, I don't know. Day he's still so explosive going to the rim. He seems to be getting that back. While it's not falling all the time, he looks a little bit little sloppy at times doing it. I think that'll come because he still gets some acrobatic stuff up that seems to always have a chance.
Yeah. Well, we get a big shootout preview on the BBP tomorrow. Maybe. I'm working on something for this week, so I don't want to commit to anything in case that something goes through and we have a special guest. So maybe. I can't tell you for sure yet.
All right. Tyler Betsy, 5 points, 2 of 4 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3, 3 rebounds, 2 offensive, 1 defensive, and that's the stat line. I liked Tyler's.
You can tell his foot's still bothering him. Like he came out of the game at one point, kind of hobbling on it, went back to the tunnel with Bob, then came back in. He did something to it about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and it doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look right, if that makes sense.
Sure. If it was bad, you wouldn't be getting any run. If
there was like a hairline stress fracture or something, he would be pulled. That's not the case. So it's probably like a bone bruise or just a little bit of a sprain that he's able to play through at the moment. So, but the 3 hit looked like the Tyler Betsy we saw the first couple games of the season. Stepped into it right on line, splash.
And then Arnson Page, 6 points, 2 of 5 from the field, 2 of 3 from the stripe, 5 offensive rebounds, 3 defensive rebounds. His 8 rebounds led the team, 1 assist, 1 foul, 2 turnovers, 1 block. He and Dan both had the only blocks in the game. And then, like I said, he had the injury scare, ended up coming back in, and we got to see him until Zella came in for him at the final minute of the game.
It's just, and this goes for Aziz too. It's so hard to really take much away from a big man playing in a game where what was their tallest player? 6'7", 6'8"?
Probably about right.
I mean, it's so hard to really to pull anything from that because they're just going to be playing against much bigger, longer, more athletic guys the rest of the way. I mean, other than Grambling State, you get Xavier, you get Dayton, Grambling State, and then the Big 12. So it was a good game. I'm not taking anything away from it. I'm just saying it's hard to extrapolate that going forward, knowing the competition is going to be much different very, very soon.
Dan, 2 points, 1 of 4 from the floor, 0 for 1 on his only 3. 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 fouls, 1 turnover, 1 block, 1 steal. He just he makes sure if there's a column in the stat sheet, the only one he was missing today was a free throw and an offensive rebound.
Yeah.
Good to see him back, though, like we said.
I mean, the 2 points he had was vintage Dan, scissor cut right down the lane, boom, acrobatic layup.
Off the glass.
And he had a really good look from the wing on a 3 that he didn't get enough air on.
He did.
But I mean, it was clean. He didn't, it was a little bit flat. Didn't come out of his hand the way he wanted it to, I would guess. But other than that, good stuff from Dan.
Most important.
It's good to see him back out there.
Most important stat is the 14 minutes that he logged for sure. Yeah. So, and then Josh Reed, 4 points, 2 of 5 from the field, 0 for 2 from the 3-point line, 1 offensive, 3 defensive rebounds, giving him 4, 1 foul, 1 turnover. Not about it.
Scored on his second chance. Took the ball in the open court, drove it all the way to the rim, and finished it. He hasn't done that a whole lot in his career here.
He did a couple times. He did a couple times this game where he wasn't afraid to drive. And again,
what we've been asking for.
Again, it is Howard, and you're going to see some different athletic guys. But
sure,
you like seeing him getting into the mentality of, oh, I can add this to my game.
Right. You need him to have something to offer offensively.
Anything.
Other than just standing there and shooting the occasional wide open 3. So that was a good step for Josh.
I agree. Keep up the work. And then Ray and Zella, they both collectively logged 3 minutes, 1 foul, and that's their entire stat line combined.
Yeah. All right. I don't have a lot else. Do you?
No, I got this exciting, super exciting Simpsons Bengals Dallas mashup coming up at 8:15. Why are we doing this?
No, they play tomorrow, don't they?
Is it tomorrow? I don't know.
I think it's Monday Night Football.
That's how much I care. I don't even know.
It's Monday Night Football. So you won't have to watch it because we'll be doing the BBP.
Excellent. I can leave it on my phone, glance over occasionally, look at the stat line, and then do the Tuesday show. Great.
Yeah. Perfect. It's Monday night. And so I was like I said, I was like, am I crazy? I don't think that game's tonight.
Like I said, that's how much I care.
All right, everybody. We're gonna get off here. We are gonna record a nightcap talking about yesterday's championship games and the CFP release and all that good stuff. But we won't make you stick around for that. We'll let you watch that at your leisure after we record it. So thanks to everybody for tuning in. Bearcats get the win, 84-67. It's going to wrap it up. We'll see you tomorrow night on the BBP. This is The Aftermath, brought to you by Mio's Pizza, live from the Cincy Light Studios, right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!